Now, Labor has proposed a $2.4 billion bailout of South Australia's Whyalla steelworks, saying the steel used in the creation of turbines would come from the manufacturer. Joining me live is former Morrison Government Minister Jason Falinski at the desk. What do you make of this?
Mate, it's just it's more money getting thrown down the drain. I mean, if you really want these manufacturers to come to Australia, then you need to start doing some hard yakka of productivity reform. Instead, what we do is we're emptying out the economy and then we're throwing good money after bad. And until they actually do the hard changes that make these industries viable in Australia, you're just going to waste more and more money.
And change of pace, moving from Whyalla to Queensland. He's hard to miss.
Speaking of money.
Speaking of money, speaking of mining, Clive Palmer. He's back. He's got ads all over the place today.
Yeah.
What do you make of his impact, and will it help or hinder the coalition?
It'll have no impact. I mean, he's a bit of a distraction and a sideshow, Clive. I mean, look, we saw in the US where Donald Trump spent less than 30% of what Kamala Harris spent and won. Money isn't the be-all and end-all in politics. You've got to have a message, you've got to care about people, and you've got to show them that you want to make their lives better off. Problem for Clive is no one's convinced that he wants to make anyone else's life better than his own.
What about the campaign, though? Like, let's move away from Clive and look at other independents, and of course, other independents will have a lot bigger say in this election.
Yep.
How important will this campaign be in getting a winner at the end of it?
Mate, we say this every election, like this is the biggest election to keep the viewers interested, etc. This time it really is. I mean, it's, coming into the home straight, neither of them are ahead, basically. It's nose to nose.
It's a head bobber in racing terms.
It's a head bobber in racing terms. And then you throw in there the Teals that are all in traditional Liberal seats. They've turned out at the last election, they were just going to be Liberal, light, care about the climate, care about women, care about integrity. They haven't cared about any of those things. Their voting record shows that they're closely aligned to the Greens. And so we're going to get to a point where either party is unlikely to have a majority of seats and it will all come down to them. And so this campaign matters more than any other campaign that I can think of.
And when the Teals come in, it happens quick, doesn't it? Like with electioneering.
Yeah.
Because it talks about Labor and the coalition. You don't really talk too much about the independents, and then boom.
There they are. And that's the thing. They fly underneath the radar all the time. They're not subjected to the same scrutiny that the major parties are. Their funding is just, it's a hornet's nest of people who fund them, and there are a couple of articles around, but these guys will probably be, these people will probably be the kingmakers at the end of this election. And it is unlikely that the media will pay them very much attention.
A lot of people are happy with an interest rate cut. Middle Australia, it's been a difficult time. We were told just a few years ago there'd be no rate cuts. There were 13 of them, or close enough. How will that impact what happens the next few weeks?
Well, you just never know. These are very strange things. So it could be that it's a very positive outcome. People say this is the start of a rate cut cycle. But the governor of the Reserve Bank, Michelle Bullock, basically said this will be the last one for a long time. And that could have the opposite effect. People might go, well, if we're not going to get more relief, then we're right back to where we started.
Just finally, and a change of subject again, Peter Dutton was pretty strong at saying that Donald Trump has got it wrong over Volodymyr Zelensky. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I think he's right. I mean, what we've got here is you just don't go around invading other countries. Donald Trump is not right on Ukraine. Russia needs to exit the territories. It was actually, I think, American weakness under the Obama administration that allowed the Russians to believe that they could start going and annexing parts of Ukraine. And just yesterday, we saw that the Chinese Navy was in the Tasman Sea doing live rounds, and we had to divert commercial airlines. This sort of stuff cannot be allowed to go on because it ultimately leads to conflict, and it needs to be, and people need to be very upfront about this not happening, or else we end up in positions that we don't want to be in.
And Trump Zelensky, this is personal too, doesn't it? It goes back to Hunter Biden and that whole thing.
The whole thing, and then during the election campaign, Zelensky went to America. He met with Biden in Pennsylvania, that was a swing state. Trump was incredibly unhappy about that. And there are a couple of tweets around at the time where he indicates he's unhappy. Yeah, this is personal as well.
Let's do it again soon.
Look forward to it.
Jason Falinski, great to have you on the show.